E-Commerce Marketing Podcast listener, are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own referral program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. I am your host, Arlen Robinson, and today we have a very special guest, Kaitlyn Study, who is the founder of Southstreet and Company, which is a digital marketing agency that helps businesses grow their business and reach their digital marketing goals. Welcome to the podcast, Kaitlyn.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, no problem. It is a pleasure. And it's not too often that I have somebody on the podcast that's from my own backyard. We're both in the Orlando area, as we just talked about. So it's great to have you. And, definitely, once things ease up or become a little bit different, when we can get to going back to marketing or networking events, I'm sure we're going to cross paths. Definitely.
Yeah, I hope so. That would be great.
Right, definitely. Well, the focus of the podcast is something that is really kind of in your bread and butter, and it's something that we hadn't really discussed too much before about. A lot of times we're talking about, of course, marketing strategies that are geared for product-based companies. But today we're going to switch it up a little bit, and we're going to talk about marketing automation, specifically for service-based businesses, because these days, I think more than ever, service-based businesses are pivoting to the e-commerce world and pivoting to digital marketing because of this whole pandemic that we're in, and they're forced to drive customers online rather than to their storefronts or to their brick and mortar establishments. But before we get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and specifically how you got into what you're doing today?
Sure. So I went to the University of Central Florida, and that's how I ended up in Orlando. I just loved the area. And my first job out of college was working for a dermatologist. Believe it or not, I found it off of Craigslist. They advertised on Craigslist, got the job, helped them with their marketing. They didn't have anyone there before. And in the first 6 months, I helped them rebrand the company, added a new logo, slogan, colors, helped them redesign their website, and then implemented social media marketing, email marketing, blogging, and SEO. And in the 2.5 years that I was there, I helped them double in size. So when I started with them, they had 10 offices. And when I left, they had 20, 17 in Central Florida, and then 3 out of state. And I kind of just felt like I hit a plateau and really loved working with small to medium-sized businesses like theirs, and felt like I could help other businesses grow and reach their ideal clientele, and started working mornings, nights, and weekends. It took me a little bit over a year to start the agency and build up enough clientele. And when I did, I put in my notice and hit the ground running. So that was in March. It'll be March 2021. It'll be 6 years, which is pretty crazy. Time is flying. Right. And like you mentioned in the intro, we primarily help service-based companies, and it's very interesting because a lot of them are doing more e-commerce and online options. And we help people that want to reach a local clientele. So not necessarily local to Orlando where we are, but local to wherever they are.
Okay, awesome. And that's really great, because I've seen this myself with service-based businesses, just dealing with companies that provide services to me, whether it's a plumber, whether it's a small local AC company. They really need a lot of help with, because I think we're kind of in the crux of a lot of businesses. And I see this with a lot of businesses that have been around for a while, let's say family-owned businesses that have been, generational, and they've done things traditionally, differently. They've done the newspaper advertising, those little local things with the coupons they send out. Although those things do still have a place, they definitely can get you some calls and some leads and some brand awareness. It's you got to look to the digital world these days, because that's where everything is headed. And so what I see is a lot of businesses that are been around for a while, they kind of struggle with transitioning from those days of old to the digital market. And it's great to know there's companies like yours around that can help them with the process. So what I want to kind of start off with is just kind of laying the framework for our discussion with regards to marketing automation for service-based businesses. Before we kind of dive deep, why don't you give us, like, I guess, a overview, 10,000 foot view of really what is marketing automation anyway? You know, how would you define marketing automation?
Yeah. So before we started talking about all of this, and just before we started recording, I mentioned to you that I was a self-proclaimed automation nerd because I'm a solutions-based person. So I try to find like, okay, I'm doing this over and over again. What can I do in order to limit my time and work smarter? So marketing automation is enabling and using programs to help you do the things that you would normally do manually. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. You can use, like I mentioned, programs, but also there's some really great things that anyone using Gmail can use as well to streamline your processes too.
Okay, that's awesome. And these days, it really is all about time saving and things that may have, required a manual process that eat up time. There's so many ways to automate now, more than ever, for sure. So yeah, thank you for that great definition. And now, so if we kind of pull this into the whole service-based business arena, what are some specific marketing automations that you would say are kind of go-to for a service-based company?
Yeah. Well, I think that it doesn't have to be limited to a service-based company, a freelancer, a huge corporation, an agency, a small business, service, or product can definitely all utilize automations. But some of the simplest ones that you can start with just to get kind of integrated is through Gmail. So you can set up filters through your emails. If you have a lot of emails coming through, you can add an automated filter using Gmail to have emails go to a particular folder, or they can even skip the inbox, be archived into a folder for you. And that way everything's in one place. And then the other thing that I know not a lot of people know about is that you can create email templates in Gmail too. So all you have to do is go to your email, click compose, and then there are 3 little dots on the lower right-hand side next to the little garbage can. And if you click on that, you can click on templates, and then you can create a template and then save it in there. And this is just so essential, especially for us as an agency, because we have to follow up with clients on like items that we need, or, emails for email marketing. And if we can just click one of those templates, customize it a little bit and hit send, it's just a total, even though you're saving like maybe 5 minutes here and there, if you're saving 10 times over 5 minutes, that adds up really quickly. So I think that's the best way to get started. But if you want to take it to the next level, there's a program that I highly, highly, highly recommend. They don't pay me to say this, by the way. I just love this program so much. It's called Zapier. It's Zapier. And they have, the way I would describe it is they are a connector app. So think of them as the glue. And if you have, like, I'll give you an example. If you have a form on your website that someone fills out as a lead, once that lead comes in, what happens? Does it go to your inbox? Who follows up with it? Is it automatically added to MailChimp? The answer is no, or whatever email platform you have. But with Zapier, what you can do is when a lead comes in, you can automate it so that it's automatically added to the email platform of your choice. You can add a tag to it as well. And then also you can send a follow-up email saying, hey, thanks so much for reaching out about our product or service. Click this link to schedule a meeting on my calendar, and then it's automatically taken care of for you. So there are so many things. And the other thing that I hear a lot from people is, well, how do I even know where to start with automation? And the answer to that is you really have to think differently, because think about all of the things that you do over and over and over again. And I'll give you another example. So every month at the first of the month, we email all of our clients to see if they have any website updates. And I was like, you know what? This takes a lot of time because I have to email every single client. And what I did was in Zapier, I created a Zap to go out on the first of every month and email all of our clients automatically. And that saved probably an hour's worth of time each month. So those are little things that you can kind of think of to see, what do I do over and over that maybe a program could help me customize and help me do through that instead of manually.
Okay, great. And that's an awesome example because, like you said, at your first thought, you're like, okay, you have to email the customers every month, the beginning of the month. And all right, it's not that time consuming of an activity. But the thing that I think a lot of business owners don't really realize is that all of these little things add up. If you take the 5-10 minutes saved with that particular activity, and then you add another automation to save you another 5-10 minutes, that slowly adds up, or actually quickly adds up. Before you know it, you've saved yourself hours of time, which is very key. You had mentioned, of course, different things that you can do with the Gmail filters. The Gmail templates would definitely can save time. Bringing this around to e-commerce businesses, one of the things that I see, and I know we use this in-house, is the ability to have your salespeople save time when they're communicating with your customers. And that can be done not only with, Gmail templates. So if you have responses to common sales questions, you can store those. But another thing is also if you're using, the live chat, which is very common on most or many e-commerce sites these days, to have canned responses available to your whole staff there, so that 9 times out of 10 they're going to get the same questions over and over again. And if they're able to quickly pull up a canned response, that saves them time, allows them to deal with multiple chats at once rather than having to type in the same responses over and over again. And so I think when you're thinking of automation, you not only want to think about your tasks that you're doing day to day, if you're the founder, you're the owner of the company, but what are those tasks that your whole team is doing? And so I think open lines of communication is also key when trying to come up with these as well.
I agree.
And, as far as the overall leveraging these automations, for, let's say, an e-commerce business, what are some ways that automations can be used to, for an e-commerce business to leverage, sales or an increase in leads?
Well, there are so many different things that you can do. And my challenge to everyone listening is to really think about those items that you do over and over. So for us, I'll give you some examples on how you could potentially use this for any type of business. Is number one, for leads, when they come in, you can automatically add them to a spreadsheet or a CRM, or we add them to Asana as a project management software. And then we assign a person the task to follow up with the lead that just came in. But not only that, is you can also integrate it with Calendly, which, let's say you have like a course coming up, and if people have questions, or you want them to sign up automatically, you can automate that process as well. So sending out automated emails when someone fills out a form, having them directed to your Calendly link if they fill out a form on your website. But also you can onboard your whole entire employee process as well. And that's what I did. So I automated 51 tasks on onboarding my employees. And those are things that I would do, like, as an example, add them to all of our programs, make sure that they have these tasks to do on a recurring basis, add a folder in Google Drive, and add our monthly meeting template to it. All of these things I completely automated. So I would challenge you and the listener to think about it internally for your company as well, but also externally for your clients. And then something else that people ask and are a little concerned about is, well, is it going to be like a robot, and is it going to be just not personalized? And the answer is no. It's actually crazy how much you can get in there and personalize different items for the automations that you do. So you can pull first names and say, like, "Hi, Arlen, thank you so much for filling out our form on our website. The next step from here is to blah, blah, blah." And then you add your Calendly link, and then you set that meeting up. But there are so many different ways that you can automate things. There's just like a million different things that you can do internally and externally as well. And as an example, I have an automation when someone pays an invoice, it automatically lets me know in Slack. So I know that we're good to go for that particular campaign. If you're running Facebook lead ads or Facebook ads in general, you can automate that to if someone fills out the form on Facebook or if someone contacts you through Facebook, you can add that to a spreadsheet or your project management software and assign that for someone to reach out to them and make sure they didn't have any questions or things like that. So Zapier has so many amazing integrations with a lot of different companies, and I guarantee there's probably one that you could set up from there too.
Right. Okay, great. Yeah. So it's like you said, there's a million things that you can do as far as automations for, driving leads, sales, managing that whole process. So that's the good thing to know. And like you said, the whole calendar thing, using Calendly to set up appointments automatically with people that have inquiries. That's a huge thing. I'm seeing that so much more these days. And we use that here internally at OSI with our partners. People that are trying to connect with us to do partnerships, and the meetings get automatically assigned to my calendar, and then the Zoom gets set up. That's all tied in. So a great time-saving effort. Now, you mentioned a couple things as far as one of the main tools that you've seen that is definitely benefited you in a lot of businesses is Zapier, which I like your definition, which is kind of the glue between apps. That's a great definition. It's exactly what it is. And that's a great tool. What are some other tools or resources and methods that you've been having a lot of success with that can help with these automations?
Zapier has, so there aren't a lot of email campaigns that I sign up for, but one of them is Zapier's emails. They send out such great articles about what to do, what not to do, how to do things. And then they also have webinars, which is really great too. But, with that program, I would highly recommend it's going to take a little bit of time. And for me, it was, I had to teach myself how to think differently because I had to think of like the process and the workflow and how everything would work in my mind, because just because it works in my mind doesn't mean it works in Zapier. And I learned that the hard way a couple times. But you can use so many different programs. And I'll give you another example that would be really, really great for anyone utilizing user-generated content on Instagram. So you can set up a Zap if you have an Instagram business account that if anyone tags you in an image, you can automatically add that to a social media scheduling queue. Wow. So as an example, we use Buffer. And if someone tags us on Instagram, then it'll automatically go into our Buffer queue. And then all we have to do is edit the content, give the person credit, and then it's already like scheduled and ready to go. But I cannot tell you how many hours that has saved us because it's so hard to look for really great content or user-generated content. So what we've done is we've made an effort to say, in our stories on Instagram, tag us in any of your posts and we'll repost you giving credit. And then that helps with our content calendar because we can sort through them and delete the ones we like or delete the ones we don't like. But as far as hours and like in time, just searching for those amazing images, that's cut down so much, but maybe not something that anyone would have thought of because user-generated content is great. And that's kind of a trust verifier for your business that other people are using it and hopefully having a great time with it too.
Right, definitely. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that automation that you mentioned that you do with, or of course it picks up if people have tagged you is a huge thing, especially if you're really active on social media, because as most people know, it's managing an active social media account is really a full-time job. Yeah. Where if you have a lot of followers, you have a lot of activity, a lot of content that you're putting out there, naturally you're going to drum up people that are going to tag you, tag your posts, tag images, retweet you, all of that. It takes a lot of time to be able to automate that and automate, correspondence with that is awesome. So yeah, great example there. Now, as we get ready to wrap things up, I'm a huge advocate of looking at businesses that have been really successful with automations. They could either be well-known businesses or businesses that you're familiar with, that you've worked with, that we can all learn from. So what are some businesses that you can talk about that have really been successful with specific automations, and what have they done and how have they achieved success?
Yeah. So I think the best example that I can give is my marketing agency. And then we also have a second company called Becoming a Local, and we've built up some local Instagram accounts to over one has around 45,000 followers. So a lot of followers too. But with everything that I've automated, so just to give you like a high level overview, I've automated my whole employee onboarding process. I've automated our whole client onboarding process. I've automated my leads process. So when anyone fills out a form on our website, they automatically get an email to Calendly. And whenever they schedule a link on or they book a call on Calendly, it creates a folder and it duplicates 3 templates and it adds them to that particular folder, so that when I have my calls with them to talk to them and learn more about about their company, it automates that whole process. And then we've also automated our client meetings. So whenever we put a client meeting on the books, it reminds us to send a follow-up email to create the template and then to do any research beforehand. So literally the sky is the limit. There's not anything that you can't do with automations. And we use Slack, and I've actually automated some of the emails that I get in to be filtered into a folder, like I mentioned originally. But when that email comes in, I get a notification in Slack, so it doesn't clog up my inbox, but I just get that notification in Slack and I can go and look at it. But I didn't go to school for automation. I didn't go to school for, anything technical. I got a degree in marketing, business marketing. And so my point in telling you that is that anyone can do this. I don't have like a degree. I just took a lot of time, dedicated it to learning more about Zapier and actually understanding my business and working through my processes and my workflows so that everything was extremely organized. And I probably save, and this is not an exaggeration, I probably save between 20 and 30 hours each week using these automations, because I've been able to automate so many different flows of our process.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. And thank you for sharing that. One thing that I'm going to have to, I think, steal from you that I don't think we do enough of here on our end here at OSI is the Slack integrations and the automations with Slack, because I live and die by Slack. We have we have a virtual team. We have team members that are all over the world that work with us and work for us. And, I'm maintaining conversations and different things with a ton of people all the time. And one of the things that you have mentioned that I think would be very useful is the automation where you get the alert notification in Slack of a particular message or an email, that has a certain subject line or is from a certain sender. And instead of it going in, like you said, clogging up your inbox, it'll get, filed into a folder, but so that that it came in, the Slack notification is what alerts you so that okay, that came in. I just know I need to go check that. And then, you can do what you need to do to, either check that or make a note that you should check it at another time. I think that's a great tool because clogged inboxes is the killer of a lot of businesses' time, I think.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I don't know if do you personally use the snooze feature on Gmail? I don't know if y'all use Gmail, but
we do. Yeah. And I use it's an app. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I think it's called Sane Later. Actually, it's a pretty cool app, and it's a plugin for Google Chrome and Gmail, where basically it would allow you can snooze messages or you can file messages so that it will. I've set up a 7-day, I think 15-day and a 30-day snooze where you just move it into that folder, and then 7 days later it pops back up into your inbox, and so you can set up different levels of that. So that's similar to what you're saying, the built-in Gmail snooze feature.
Yeah, I use so you can schedule emails to go out in the future. So if I wake up super early and I don't want clients to email me at 6 o'clock in the morning when I'm emailing them, I can schedule it to send out at like 8 o'clock or 8:30. And then not only that, but mentioning the snooze feature, you can snooze emails. And I do that for all of my follow-ups. So if I haven't heard back from someone, I'll snooze it for like a couple days or a week or whenever. And then that's been so helpful because I'm right on time when I said I was going to follow up with them.
Right. And that's critical these days, is the follow-up, and especially with marketing, things that you're doing, or if you're trying to form a relationship with a business, the follow-ups are important. But if you don't put that in place, or a reminder, it's gonna get lost in the cracks.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, Kaitlyn, it's definitely been awesome talking to you. I can talk about automations all day because, as you see, there's so many things that can be done, so many ways to automate to save a business time, so they can focus on other things that matter in the business. And so it's a great conversation. But before we let you go, I always like to switch gears here with my final question, just so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact that you think our audience would be interested to know about yourself.
Yeah. My fun fact is that I have 4 younger brothers, and I'm the oldest and the only girl. So growing up, there's 5 of us, and it was always just so much fun. Getting together for holidays is incredible because we just have, everyone, some of us have gotten married and others of us are, in school, getting ready to graduate and all of that. So I definitely had a really fun and rambunctious childhood.
I can imagine. So those are older brothers? 4 older brothers?
4 younger brothers.
Oh, younger brothers. Oh, okay,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I
can imagine that household was a little loud.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. Well, That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, lastly, of course, before we let you go, if any of our listeners want to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about digital marketing automation or marketing automation in general, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can find us at southstreetmarketing.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Kaitlyn Study. I have a bright pink shirt on, so I'd love to connect with you. And then if anyone does want any more help with this, I do have a coaching program where I can go in and teach you all of the automations, and you can kind of take it over and, learn on your own once you know the basics.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Kaitlyn. I definitely encourage all of our listeners to take advantage of that, reach out to you and see how you can help their businesses. And thank you, of course, once again, for joining us today on the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was great.
Sure.
Thank you for listening to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode of the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know.